And Executive Mello, the recording has begun.
Well, thank you, Katie. I'd like to call to order the February 5th, 2026 Executive Committee meeting. Good morning, everyone. I'm Executive Committee Vice Chair Ryan Mello. Our committee chair, Dave Summers, is not available to chair the meeting, so you'll all have to bear with me this morning. I want to welcome everyone attending the meeting, both in person in the Ruth Fisher Boardroom and via Zoom. Thank you for joining us. For board members joining via Zoom, please turn on your camera and state your name prior to making any comments or asking any questions so that the public and your fellow committee members know who's speaking. I'd also like to make sure folks know that we are dealing with some technical difficulties today. So there may be some glitchy technology both in the boardroom and on Zoom, and we will get through it together. So thank you for your grace with that. Our staff is trying to troubleshoot that as best they can. Then moves us to item number 2, roll call. Katie, can you please call the roll?
Angela Burney, Cassie Franklin, Thomas McLeod.
Here.
Board Member McLeod is present. Julie Meredith.
Present.
Board Member Mello is present. Oh, sorry, Board Member Meredith is present. Christina Walker.
Here.
Board Member Walker is present. Katie Wilson.
Here.
Board Member Wilson is present. Gurmai Zahalai.
Present.
Board Member Zahalai is present. Dave Summers. And Ryan Mello.
Here.
And Vice Chair Mello, we do have a quorum of the Executive Committee at this time.
Thank you, Katie. Item number 3 is the report of the chair. I'd like to introduce our new Executive Committee members and welcome board members Burney, McLeod, Wilson, and Zahalai to the Executive Committee. Board Member Burney, while not a new member to the Sound Transit Board, is joining the Executive Committee alongside her new committee, the System Expansion Committee. So welcome. Mayor Burney brings a rider-first perspective to this committee, having recently celebrated the opening of 2 additional light rail stations in Redmond just last year. Her commitment to regionalism and her regional approach to solving complex problems, especially as chair of the System Expansion Committee, will be a great asset to this committee as we undertake enterprise-wide initiatives. Thomas McLeod, Board Member McLeod, is in the 3rd year as serving as mayor of the city of Tukwila, where he previously served on the city council and the planning commission. Mayor McLeod is a champion for building a thriving and affordable community in Tukwila and across our region. And his background in accounting and finance is sure to be to our benefit as we address the affordability of the Sound Transit 3 program. Welcome, Board Member McLeod. Mayor Wilson, Board Member Wilson joins the committee as the new mayor of the city of Seattle. Mayor Wilson is a longtime transit advocate and community organizer. She co-founded the Transit Riders Union and spent years building coalitions to advance better transit service and other policies to improve our region's quality of life. Mayor Wilson brings a deep commitment to collaboration, and her experience will be invaluable as the City of Seattle and Sound Transit continue our critical partnership to deliver major projects and improve mobility across the region for all riders. And finally, Board Member Zahalai. We are so pleased to welcome the newly elected King County Executive Gurmai Zahalai to the Executive Committee. While also not a new board member to the Sound Transit Board, Executive Zahalai will play an important role in helping shape the long-term success of the agency. Executive Zahalai's commitment to the overall community experience of our system will be really a tremendous value. So with that, I really want to welcome all of the new Executive Committee members. Very much looking forward to working with each and every one of you, and thank you for your commitment to this regional work. I'd like to now turn it over to our Chief Executive Officer, Executive Constantine, for the CEO report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'd like to also extend a welcome to all the new members of the Executive Committee. It has been an action-packed few weeks here at Sound Transit, and I have a number of updates to share with the committee. First, we've completed the installation of automatic train protection, or ATP, in the downtown Seattle Transit Tunnel. ATP systems monitor and manage train speeds, and generally improve safety. And importantly, in our case, the use of ATP will enable us to safely operate 4-minute headways when we begin interlining the one. So I want to thank our passengers for their patience during the planned weekend closures that were necessary to complete this work, and to our staff who were able to pivot on short notice to reschedule some of those work days to make sure we had trains running for Seahawk playoff games. Installing this technology and completing the related testing were important steps toward opening across the lake next month. And speaking of, many members of this committee were in attendance when we announced that we will begin full two-line service on March 28th. That will be a historic day that in many ways will transform the region. I had the pleasure of addressing the Mercer Island City Council earlier this week about that next big step and what it will mean for their community in particular. In addition to being able to get to Husky Stadium from Mercer Island in 22 minutes, someone boarding Link at Mercer Island will be able to travel to either downtown Seattle or downtown Bellevue in just about 10 minutes. We'll have more to share in the coming weeks about what we've learned and what we have planned for March 28th. For now, I encourage the public to mark your calendars, as everyone will be welcome to help celebrate on that big day. And while we're preparing for that next ribbon cutting, we also continue to move forward with groundbreakings. Yesterday, the members of the board, representatives from the city of Renton, including City Council member and Sound Transit board member Prince, his colleagues from the Renton City Council, and Mayor Pavone, all participated in the groundbreaking for our Renton Transit Center. We were also joined by Building Trades Executive Secretary Monty. Board members Balducci, Fain, and McLeod were there. And many of our valued partners, including representatives from our federal delegation, the Building Trades, and many team project members. Board member Meredith, we had an opportunity to thank and celebrate our friends at WashDOT for your remarkable partnership in this STRIDE program, and the fact that WashDOT is not only helping by providing right-of-way, but indeed constructing some of the facilities and along that right-of-way that will allow us to run this service. The event was to commemorate the beginning of work that will relocate and rebuild the Renton Transit Center. The new facility will eventually serve the STRIDE S1 bus rapid transit line, local King County Metro services, and the future Rapid Ride 1 line. I-line. The transit center will be a key component of the STRIDE S1 Bellevue to Burien line, set to begin operations in 2028. And we can look forward to more groundbreakings in the STRIDE system in the months to come. Light rail has received a lot of attention recently, and rightly so. It is the backbone of our system. And opening service across the lake will be a really big milestone, but the STRIDE network will be transformative, especially for those who live and work along the I-5 corridor. It will serve as another major component of the world-class transit network that we and our partners are building. And changing gears a bit, we'd like to briefly touch on our legislative priorities in Olympia this year. The legislative session is moving quickly. It's a short session this year, and we are approaching the halfway mark now, with 3 sound transit priority bills advancing. I want to thank board members and partners who are helping move those bills along. Each bill supports the objectives of the Enterprise Initiative by improving project delivery timelines and expanding financial capacity. And later in today's meeting, staff will share an update on the policy opportunity register that is part of the Enterprise Initiative, which will also be a venue to preview considerations for the board as we engage policy proposals for the boardroom and at the state level. Mr. Chair, I know that's a lot. That's all I have to share this morning. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, CEO Constantine. A lot of demonstrated great progress. Thank you for your leadership and staff's great work. Are there any questions for our CEO before we move on? Not seeing any. Thank you, Dow. That brings us to item number 5, which is public comment. The executive committee welcomes public comment as an important part of our public process. Comments are received and considered by the committee in its deliberations. Katie, can you share what types of comments were received for today's meeting? Any written public comments?
Vice Chair Mello, we received one person signed up for written public comment. We received written public comments as well as one person signed up in the room and one person signed up for virtual public comment.
Thank you. So the ground rules for verbal public comment are that before we take public comment, I really want to ensure that everyone understands to review our ground rules for both in-person and virtual comment. Each commenter will have 2 minutes. Speakers should comment on the action they identified on the sign-up sheet and stay within the allotted time. All comments must be germane to the agenda items or items within the committee's purview. Speakers should not make introductory statements, derogatory remarks, profanity, or personal attacks not germane to an agenda item. Statements related to a political campaign or statements for or against a candidate or ballot measure are also not allowed. Speakers should also not engage in conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting, including conduct that is not germane to the committee's work or agenda. This is the only warning speakers will receive. If these rules are not followed, I will ask for the microphone to be turned off. I certainly appreciate your adherence to these rules. So let's turn to in-person public comment in the Ruth Fisher boardroom. Katie, who do we have up first?
Yes, Vice Chair Mello, we're having a little bit of an audio issue between with the audio cutting in and out a little bit. So if, with your permission, I'd like to read the written public comments before I call the first in-person commenter.
Please.
Written public comments were received from Marilyn Kennel, Martin Westerman, and colleagues expressing concerns regarding the light rail project's carbon emission production and urging the board for more sustainable options to deliver better transit now versus decades from now. And from Jan Roberts, highlighting the EIS executive summary, failed to mention Sound Transit did not expect sustainability advantages to offset construction-related carbon emissions, and that the project may generate over 360,000 tons of carbon over its 50-year lifespan.
Thank you, Katie, for
Those are
the summaries of those written comments. Who do we have for in-person comment?
Yes, we have one person signed up for in-person comment. That person is Alex Zimmerman.
Yeah. They hire best people friend MAP in Bandita. My name is Alex Zimmerman. I want to speak about agenda number 7, about your working plan. You have very nice working plan. You need another dozen probably $1 billion for cover the Sound Transit Ponzi scam. This will cost us $200 billion. My question to you very simple. Money, what is you transfer from people? You transfer from people what is need this money for service, for everything, like my people like me, Social Security, you know what is mean, old people. So how many people will be dead for each $1 billion? What is you spend for your Ponzi scam? You can give me answer? No? Thank you very much. Please give me answer. In second point, what is I delivery? Because it's totally confused me. 3 county, 4 million people keep you. You know what is mean here. They don't want to send you in jail for stealing billion and billion people money for Ponzi scam. Nothing happened. 4 million people very quiet. I kill only 2 people. Look what has happened. It's a demonstration go around. So how is this 4 million slave very quiet? Can you explain to me what is you did with these people? Huh? make them look like a slab, like a cockroaches. It's very interesting. This I like you because you'd be absolutely powerful. You know what it means? Make from 4 million people a slave and cockroaches. Yes. So I demand what is you stop and suck this blood and money from people. We need more money. Any problem. Too many people dying without money. Viva Trump! Viva New American Revolution! Stand up, slave and happy cow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Katie, that's the only in-person commenter.
Correct.
Can we move to
We
the
just
Zoom
have
room?
one virtual.
Please go ahead.
Joe Kunstler is our virtual public commenter. Please accept the notice to unmute your microphone.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Katie. Joe Kunzler here. I want to start by getting right to the point here. I want the board to add to the work plan reviewing your public comment rules. The last speaker with his campaign sign bashing Bellevue, I absolutely object to. Number one. Number two, the Nazi rhetoric I just heard, I find deplorable. This is not what Sound Transit is about at all. And number three, by reviewing your public comment rules, you will have one standard among multiple chairs from different counties, different political cultures, and be able to come together as one in Sound Transit. Just like the 12s are coming together as one to ride Sound Transit, beat Alex Zimmerman, and hopefully beat the Patriots this Sunday at our second home stadium in Santa Clara. Obviously, I'm going to bring that up. Go Hawks and go Sound Transit. I really badly think that we need to exclude Alex Zimmerman for a year at a time because I'm just deeply hurt and offended by Sound Transit being called a Ponzi scam. Sound Transit has built beautiful ways for people to get around and be able to get from point A to point B on time with this sexy light rail. And I know this stride's going to be nice, but I'd rather we build the Vanessa Kritzer line, extending the link from Redmond up to Everett as soon as humanly possible. We also need to, we're getting really excited for the upcoming Claudia Badass Uchi connection between Seattle and Bellevue. It's going to really, truly be a jewel of modern engineering. And I really hope everyone's getting excited for the Claudia Badass Uchi line. And as always, but especially today, go Sound Transit! Thank you!
Thank you, Mr. Kunzler. Katie, that's everybody, right?
That is everyone who signed up for public comment today.
Thank you. That's going to move us to item number 6, our business items. There are 2 business items for today's agenda, one for final approval and one for recommendation to the full board of directors. The first is a committee final action, which are minutes of the December 11th, 2025 executive committee meeting. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes as presented? Katie, did I miss a motion?
So moved. Second.
Been properly moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is adopted. We're going to move on to our next item. I'd like to call on Margaret Cedar-Roth, Deputy Chief Planning Officer, to begin the discussion about our 2026 to 2030 sustainability plan.
Good morning. I'm Margaret Cedar-Roth. I'm the Deputy Chief Planning Officer here at Sound Transit, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here with Amy to present the next 5-year sustainability plan. This plan is a logical step forward for the agency on critical commitments that are relevant to us as an agency maturing our operations, particularly around decarbonization. This plan builds on the successful work directed by the board and enabled by executive leadership and carried out by staff across the agency over the last several years to meet critical air quality, energy savings, safety, transit-oriented development, greenhouse gas, water, and equity goals. As Amy will provide in detail, this plan assembles actions from across the organization and aligns them to logical goals. This plan is grounded in consultation with internal and external stakeholders and reflects best practice for sustainability programs globally. Amy.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Amy Shatskin, Sustainability Director here at Sound Transit. If you could advance to the next slide, please. So I'm here this morning to ask the Executive Committee to recommend motion number 2026-06 for approval at the February Sound Transit Board meeting. This motion adopts the 2026 to 2030 Sustainability Plan and also directs the CEO to implement the plan's commitments with a focus on strengthening the agency's decarbonization efforts. Next slide, please. I'm also here today to provide an overview of the sustainability plan, which sets both agency sustainability goals for the next 5 years, as well as the agency's work plan around sustainability. But before I dive into those details, I want to step back and explain how the agency defines sustainability, how we're building on past successes, and what we're doing differently moving forward in this new plan. And then I'll talk about the motion and next steps. Next slide, please. So in terms of defining a sustainability and successes to date, next slide. I think it's important to take a step back and define the agency's sustainability approach. At Sound Transit, we take a holistic approach to sustainability. It's about improving regional quality of life by addressing social and economic issues as well as environmental. And as per the agency's first executive order, sustainable business practices are intended to be implemented across all agency activities. And to that end, my sustainability team, who are subject matters on environmental sustainability, collaborate with departments and divisions across the agency on sustainability initiatives, as well as monitoring progress on work streams that fall under our broad sustainability umbrella. Next slide, please. In terms of putting the commitments of this plan in context, the last sustainability plan really worked to establish agency sustainability norms, advance green building initiatives, and launch ST3 sustainability programs. This next plan continues to deepen our work by advancing green building to address embodied emissions, moving from planning to implementation of the zero emissions transition, and supporting operational reliability efforts, amongst other topics. Next slide, please. We measure short and long-term progress both quantitatively and qualitatively, and here's a sample of some of what we accomplished by the numbers since the beginning of the last sustainability plan. As you can see, we have a large overall reduction in energy use and greenhouse gas emissions, which we are really proud of, but that's just one of the successes that we've had. And to really understand our successes and challenges, we examine the progress of our sustainability program annually. As our new plan illustrates, each goal has a series of metrics that we track and report to you in our sustainability progress report, which we typically provide to the board every August. Next slide. Next slide. So let me introduce you to the plan by talking about our themes, which address the agency's core mission to get more people to more places accessibly, affordably, and cleanly. The themes of our plan also reflect the priorities and expectations of the agency, as well as of its many departments. The plan's goals, themes, and goals are intended to align with that of both our partner agencies and jurisdictions, as well as our national peers. We've worked with our Community Oversight Panel, Transportation Choices Coalition, and our peers at partner agencies to ensure that our plan reflects our shared regional priorities. Next slide. And now we're going to dive into the heart of the plan. I'm going to highlight a few of our new initiatives. And first, I want to just clarify that unless otherwise noted, all of the goals and action items in the plan are intended to be completed by the end of 2030, which is the sunset of this document's life. So we have worked in close partnership for many years with transit operations, and I'm really excited about our work deepening our fleet decarbonization work. This plan commits the agency to end the purchase of revenue fleet vehicles propelled by fossil fuels in 2030. And between now and then, we'll continue to work hard to transition at least 30% of our non-revenue fleet to zero emissions and design a zero emissions pilot for Sounder. Establishing an implementation path for decarbonization with near-term goals better aligns the agency with our local peers, enhances coordination and implementation. It also establishes a timeline that creates a sense of urgency around decarbonization. Framing the agency's decarbonization commitments as the sunset of diesel purchases also allows flexibility as the enterprise initiative adjusts service parameters through the update to the system plan. And finally, these commitments are also in service to the enterprise initiative by ensuring that future services
Yes.
Okay. We're also excited about the opportunity in the new plan to focus on some of the work on the existing system, updating the agency's climate resilience plan. And this is really in service to many of the agency's goals around reliability and resilience. And also I also wanted to underscore the resiliency efforts around our energy supply, which is not only crucial to providing reliable service, but also provides an important pathway to zero emissions operations. Next slide, please. Expanding multimodal access at Sound Transit is also a topic that many of our stakeholders and board members are very passionate about. And our work in this arena highlights the ongoing efforts of the Station Access Program, working in partnership with jurisdictions to maximize access. Additionally, there are efforts ongoing to improve paratransit service across the region. And finally, we're working to advance EV access and collaborate regionally to better define the roles and responsibilities of each public agency in Puget Sound around providing EV infrastructure. Next slide, please. And my last example today, I really wanted to highlight our work supporting small and disadvantaged businesses. This goal highlights an evolving partnership with an organization called Breaking Barriers Collaborative. We're working with them to connect Sound Transit contractors to this nonprofit organization, which focuses on supporting public and private fleets transition to zero emissions vehicles. We're also working with them to develop a customized program tailored for Sound Transit's small and disadvantaged contractors. Next slide. Next slide. So, how do we fund all of this work? Today, there is no direct fiscal action associated with this board motion. However, it is anticipated that financial impacts from the sustainability plan will be addressed during future actions as they are presented. The goals and action items in the plan will be funded and screened through existing agency budgets and review processes. And thanks to the architects of the ST3 plan, we have long-term dedicated funding sources for sustainability. The ST3 sustainability cost allocation provides funding for green building and sustainable infrastructure across our system expansion projects. And the ST3 sustainability, or the Efficiency and Sustainability Fund provides funding for green building and sustainability pilot projects for the existing system. And this motion finally addresses future financial impacts by requiring the agency to integrate zero emissions commitments into long-range financial planning assumptions, as well as the updated ST3 plan and system planning updates that are being undertaken through the Enterprise Planning Initiative. The next slide. I also want to remind the board that the sustainability program not only implements efficiency projects that save the agency taxpayer dollars, we saved nearly $1 million in 2024, but we also generate revenue by managing the agency's participation in the state's clean fuel standard. This year, we're on track to earn about $1 million from the clean fuel standard, and the value of this revenue will continue to grow as the agency expands light rail, brings a fully electrified BRT online, and transitions to fossil fuel services to zero emissions technologies. Next slide. Next slide. So to summarize the motion before you today, by recommending motion M 2026-06 for approval, you would be directing the CEO to implement the sustainability plan as outlined, as well as directing the CEO to implement the agency's decarbonization goals and fleet management commitments. You would be also directing the agency to align its zero emissions transition efforts with partner agencies and integrating relevant assumptions into the agency's long-range system and financial planning, as well as transit operations and procurement. Next slide. In closing, today we seek recommendation to approve motion M 2026-06 to the full Board of Directors meeting in February, where we seek approval of our sustainability plan and the associated motion.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for the detailed presentation and all the work to date to shepherd the specific actions, strategies, and measures forward to have a really relevant sustainability plan for the agency. What questions or comments do board members have before we ask for a motion? Board Member Wilson.
Yeah, thank you. Just regarding sunsetting purchases of fossil fuel powered vehicles, I'm just wondering about kind of the ability to procure non-fossil fuel powered vehicles, and do we anticipate any challenges there just in terms of the kind of supply side of that?
Amy?
So Mayor, thank you for the question, Board Member Wilson. That's a great question. So what this plan does is it sunsets our purchase of fossil fuels by 2030. So it gives us a bit of a runway to do the planning that's needed to work with the OEMs. I think you're right to point out that supply chain issues certainly have been a constraint for many transit agencies. But the timing of us sunsetting the fossil fuel purchases was specifically planned to account for both any of the outcomes of the enterprise initiative over the next year, as well as addressing some of those longer lead issues, such as supply chain issues.
Other questions or comments in the boardroom? Board Member Zahalai?
Thank you. Thank you so much for this presentation. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about this sustainability plan against the backdrop of Sound Transit's looming financial crisis, the enterprise initiative. At King County Metro, for example, we have electrification plans, and whenever we anticipate that we're going to have a financial or fiscal cliff coming up, one of the policy areas that we've dialed back on or pushed out to meet our financial goals has been to delay electrification, for example, not because electrification isn't important, but because we want to make sure that we can deliver on our capital projects. We want to make sure that we can deliver on our service hour expansions. And that's one of the priorities that we dial back on. How does this fit into the financial issues? How do we take into account the cost of this sustainability plan? And are we sacrificing other things like delivering on our capital commitments and our service hours, frequency, things of that nature by delivering on the plan as it stands?
Thank you for that question, Board Member Zahalai. That's lots of important issues that you raised. So first of all, I'll note that in terms of approaching the zero emissions transition, we were very deliberate to articulate that as the sunset of fossil fuel purchases, as opposed to choosing the date by which we will have transitioned all of our services. And that is in a recognition of the upcoming work of the enterprise initiative and better understanding what our financial picture looks like. We were sort of made that, we really wanted to enhance the agency's commitment to the zero emissions transition, but do so in a conservative way, understanding the financial picture that we're facing. On the capital project side, we are very well positioned from the perspective that the ST3 cost allocation for sustainability was articulated in the ST3 plan. And so, my understanding, and I will certainly clarify this for you, is that we are, as the ST3 system plan changes, the ST3 cost allocation for sustainability would change proportionally to that. So we still will have funding that would maybe right-sized for what the new ST3 plan looks like, but we have a separate funding stream that is dedicated for sustainability that in and of itself will still exist.
Thank you. If we approve this plan, are we tying our hands in terms of exploring other options when all the scenarios come to us in March?
No, not at all.
Okay.
And additionally, I will note that in the sustainability plan, for each of the goals, we indicate what sort of this rough order of magnitude of costs are. And in consultation with finance, it was determined that in terms of sort of the biggest impacts coming out of the plan, the only one that we would need to accommodate for in the long-range finance plan would be our work around the zero emissions transition.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, board members. To highlight, board member McLeod.
Thank you. I have a clarification question I want to ask from slide number 7. It's where we're talking about major accomplishments since 2019. There's a data point there, 16% reduction in GHG. How to process that data point? Are we ahead of pace or behind pace? How do I give context to 16%?
16% is a pretty significant reduction in overall greenhouse gas emissions. What's exciting about that data point is that it's not normalized by miles of service or numbers of passengers. This is despite the fact that we have a growing transit system, we were able to overall reduce our greenhouse gas emissions through some to enter into 2 different power purchase agreements for 100% renewable energy.
The long-term goal, though, was 100% by 2030?
Yes, which is being realized through the Clean Energy Transformation Act.
Is it 2030 or 2050?
2030 to have all electricity be greenhouse gas neutral.
But 60% is a big step. Are we halfway there, or so that's the data point I don't know how to give context to?
Well, and that's a great point, Board Member McLeod. We, and this is where we're sort of in this transition period with needing to understand what our services will look like into the future. Once the enterprise plan is completed, we'll be able to project what our emissions will be with once we understand those service assumptions. And so we can better sort of put that 16% in context in it and understand what the target is that we need to reduce by exactly.
So the 100% will be better defined later.
Correct. Well, the 100% of electricity use being greenhouse gas neutral is a function of what's happening with our utilities. And this is work that we're doing above and beyond that.
Thank you.
It's a great question. Are there other board member questions or comments before we look for a motion? Not seeing any. Is there a motion to forward this action to the board with a do pass recommendation or a different motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to forward.
Vice Chair Mello,
Yes.
would you like me to read that into the record?
Yes. Thanks for your grace, everybody. Yes, please, Katie.
Motion number M 2026-06 is a motion of the Board of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority directing the Chief Executive Officer to implement the 2026 through 2030 Sustainability Plan and pledging the agency to meet the plan's decarbonization goals.
We have a motion by Board Member Zahalai and a second, I believe, by Board Member Franklin. Katie, thank you for so ably managing up. You do an excellent job as always. Is there any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, we'll take a voice vote. All those in favor of forwarding motion M 2026-06 to the board with the do pass recommendation, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? The motion's adopted. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you for the discussion. That moves us to item number 7, reports to the committee. We have 3 important discussions to have here. The first is an enterprise initiative update. We're going to discuss scenario development and policy planning work stream items. I'd like to call on Alex Krieg, Enterprise Planning Deputy Executive Director, to provide the report on enterprise initiative. Alex.
Good morning, Vice Chair Mello, and members of the Executive Committee. My name is Alex Krieg, and I lead enterprise planning at Sound Transit. I'm joined this morning by Meg Cederoth, Sound Transit's Deputy Chief Planning and Development Officer. Next slide, please. So slide 2 covers the purpose of today's presentation, which is to engage the Executive Committee on our scenario development work as part of the Enterprise Initiative and with a focus on the policy and planning workstream. To that end, our briefing is in 2 parts. The first part will be to share an update on our work to develop a policy opportunity register. And the second part will be on current ST3 service assumptions and how they might change through the Enterprise Initiative. Before getting into the substantive content, however, I would like to provide a brief reminder of our approach for responding to board direction to develop plausible, affordable scenarios to update the ST3 system plan. Next slide, please. So this slide captures the rules we are following to bring together the different pieces of the Enterprise Initiative work into scenarios for board consideration. As a starting point, the purpose is not to say here are 3 or 4 or 5 options, pick one, but instead to identify real policy trade-offs and choices for the board. We also will focus on components that have a meaningful impact on addressing affordability, while emphasizing simplicity and service to highlighting those policy trade-offs. Finally, we'll leverage the work that teams across the agency are doing, including through the development of the Policy Opportunity Register, and ultimately expect a hybrid that combines elements from different scenarios. Next slide. So this slide is just a simple process graphic for how we plan to get from the last board retreat in November to the next board retreat in March with plausible, affordable scenarios for an updated ST3 system plan. We defined an approach for scenario development at the end of 2025. In January, we focused on developing different scenario building blocks, which will enable us to begin developing initial scenarios that will be informed by the board engagement we conduct this month, and then finally having scenarios in March for the next board retreat. Next slide. We are referring to the component pieces of scenarios as building blocks. Once this slide advances, you'll have a sense of what that looks like. These building blocks relate to the different Enterprise Initiative work streams and are the elements that can be modified, expanded, contracted, etc. And when combined with other workstream building blocks, will form scenarios for board consideration. So for the policy and planning work, that's the work stream under the purview of the Executive Committee. The building blocks will include policy changes, whether by the Sound Transit Board or other authorities, that save cost, accelerate project delivery, or expand agency financial capacity. The policy and planning building blocks will also include alternative service designs and assumptions for all modes. And these updated assumptions will also tie into the capital and service delivery work streams. Next slide. So now we'll move into the next section of the presentation, focusing on the Policy Opportunity Register, and I'll turn this over to Meg.
Thank you. So next slide. As Alex mentioned, I'm here today to provide you with some context of the policy planning work stream, the structure of the material, and some initial takeaways, and then look ahead to next steps. So the board members were introduced last summer and over the course of this fall and winter to the extensive work by the capital, finance, and service delivery teams who, as a part of this enterprise initiative, have been identifying a broad array of opportunities that drive down capital costs, speed or streamline delivery, or that enhance the agency's capacity to access and utilize financing and funding opportunities. Today's presentation is to anchor that survey of opportunities to a few examples of the types of policy opportunities and in the context of the scenario development work, and then to begin understanding how these potential policy actions positively influence other work streams. This is a snapshot of work that is ongoing and will continue over the course of the year, as well as beyond the update to the ST3 system plan. Next slide. So developing a policy opportunity register involves the team taking a step back to examine the array of opportunities that subject matter experts in capital delivery, service delivery, and finance have identified, and then to further explore their promise. Our objective today is to give an overview so that we can gauge board interest, and then we will continue the work to refine and finalize implementation steps in preparation for the board retreat. Some initial observations are that, thankfully, many of these opportunities should have a positive effect on program affordability, though none solves the problem alone. And many opportunities rely on actions that Sound Transit can undertake through board direction, though some promising opportunities require both the Sound Transit Board and third parties to take actions, and then the inclusion, of course, of third parties may introduce some uncertainty as to timing. As we advance work streams over the coming weeks, these policies will be put through analysis to understand the rough order of magnitude influence that they have on cost savings and financial capacity, and thereby the logic of their inclusion in various scenarios. Next slide. Staff have begun to very simply organize the opportunities into some plain categories: the type of opportunity and who takes action. By type, we mean saving costs or expansion of financial capacity, and many of these were introduced to you already by the capital delivery and finance teams last summer and the fall. Who acts is also currently broken down into two main categories: the Sound Transit Board or a third party. Next slide. To illustrate these categories, staff have assembled some of the example policies of the type that save costs and speed project delivery. We took a first pass at identifying the actor or set of actors that would initiate the policy action. As I noted, we will be sharing additional policy opportunities and more detail associated with their implementation in the coming weeks in preparation for the board retreat. But what today's discussion and sampling of opportunities illustrates is that there are several actions the board can take that deliver promising results, including opportunities such as minimizing the footprint and extent and size of our facilities, or using delivery mechanisms that include more private sector participation. Other opportunities involve action by third parties, such as changes to permitting process or contracting mechanisms, and are currently under consideration by the legislature. Next slide. The second type of opportunity, expanding financial capacity and flexibility, draws from the work of the finance team presented to the board over the course of last summer and fall. Categorization by actor is helpful as we continue to detail implementation, which includes considering the internal structures and workflows that would need to be adjusted should the board decide to take action. For example, the board can direct staff to pursue more joint development and transit-oriented development opportunities on our land assets, with revenue as a priority. But additional actions by third parties, including local jurisdictions, could layer on revenue enhancement or unlock additional revenues. Consideration of third-party actions will be considered in the policy opportunity. Next slide. This is the first of many conversations with the board. In the coming weeks, in preparation for the board retreat, staff will continue the work of refining policy opportunities by mapping out implementation, clarifying how and by rough order of magnitude, how much they influence the enterprise initiative work streams, and prioritize them for board consideration. What would help staff at this stage is to understand if the approach to the work is logical, if there are questions about the examples we've identified in today's discussion, if there are specific policy questions that you would like us to explore, and what additional information would help support your understanding of policy opportunities as we work toward the board retreat next month.
Thank you
And now-
for, go ahead.
Nope, now it's time for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you for focusing us and teeing this up. Are there comments by board members at this time?
I have a question.
Board Member Wilson.
Yeah, so just out of curiosity, since passenger restrooms are a particular passion of mine, can you say just a little bit more detail about what this means, clarify requirements for passenger restrooms to ensure accurate cost assumptions?
Yes. Thank you for the question. We At Sound Transit, we have a passenger restroom policy that has not been updated in quite some time. We have faced through delivery of our capital program, sometimes the imposition of a restroom as a requirement in a permitting process. Having a clarified passenger restroom policy would give us, it may not materially affect costs. It would give us greater certainty about cost, and also the greater ability to communicate to our project partners what our own standards and expectations for the delivery of that facility as part of a station would entail. So that's one where it is very unlikely to be a big needle mover from a cost perspective, but it creates greater cost certainty and also greater project development certainty as well.
Other board member input?
Zahalai.
Board member Zahalai.
Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. We're noting that some of our potential actions and policies require third-party action. Could you talk a little bit about the engagement that has been conducted so far with other jurisdictions, city governments, and so forth around the enterprise initiative? And if it hasn't happened yet, when will that occur?
I would say it's happening. We certainly have a lot of interest from our partners throughout the region. So it's a bit reactive and proactive. We get a lot of requests to engage on the topic and are taking advantage of that. We're certainly keeping jurisdictional partners involved in our capital program, who we engage with just as a matter of business, engaged as well, taking advantage of the standing forums that exist in those project contexts. And we will continue throughout the next several months to proactively engage at relevant milestones in the process to get feedback and understand that the delivery of ST3 is a multi-party endeavor requiring coordination and participation by Sound Transit, our transit partners, WashDOT, jurisdictions, and beyond.
Thank you, Alex.
Alex, I'd like to ask a couple of questions about some of these. I think in general, these examples are great. I know there's many more staff are working on, but these are good examples, and everything I'm hearing demonstrates this is headed in the right direction. These are the right things to be wrestling with. Permitting time is incredibly valuable, and long permitting and long construction schedules are definitely driving our costs. And I know we are championing a piece of legislation in Olympia around permitting. Could you or someone on the staff team brief us at a high level, remind us what that bill is striving to do and how it would help us and how its progress is going in Olympia right now?
I will do my best, and we can certainly follow up after this meeting with additional information. My understanding of that permitting bill is it seeks to give Sound Transit uniquely some, maybe you might say, shortcuts in terms of the permitting process when we know we're going to move through, but haven't maybe acquired every last piece of right-of-way to begin getting construction permits. And I know there are a set of other kind of small changes that, again, give us a little bit more schedule certainty to move through this process. My understanding of that bill is that it is moving in both chambers, and it is out of the policy committees in both chambers, and we are awaiting next steps and may continue to engage board members as that moves through, and just acknowledge board member Walker, who also gave some testimony in support of that.
Thank you. And that bill in Olympia is not the only way we make progress on permitting reform, but it's something that's front and center right now that we're trying to advance. Another question I have is you point out that one of our revenue authorities, Sound Transit has chosen not to take advantage of to date, is the rental car tax. What can you share with the committee about the revenue opportunity here, and maybe any other high level, just start the discussion with this committee about what's been evaluated to date about its efficacy and pros and cons of this that's been thought about to date?
Sure, I'll say a couple of things. One is, in lieu of the fact that there is not a Finance and Audit Committee meeting this month, we do plan to bring to the full board an update on the work underway as part of the Finance Opportunity Register. As Meg noted, a lot of the policy opportunities are kind of cross-cutting in the other disciplines that are part of the enterprise initiative. My understanding with the rental car tax, we actually are levying a rental car tax, just not the maximum authority that we have. I don't have the numbers offhand, so don't want to speak out of turn, but there has been some work to assess the relative impact of that. It is, again, not a sort of world beater, but it does create additional financial capacity, and certainly we can commit to bring some additional information back to the full board meeting on that tool, as well as some of the other finance opportunities we're considering through the enterprise initiative.
Thank you, Alex. Let me ask one more time. This is not the only opportunity by any stretch, but as staff continues to do a lot of work on our behalf and tee up our March board retreat, are there other policy levers that board members would like to put on the table for staff to develop? Are there policy levers missing? I'm not seeing any right now, though we know how to get in touch with you, Alex, and board members are encouraged to put other ideas on the table. Alex, please continue.
Great. Okay, so we have just a few more slides to get to, and the slides will come back up in a moment. This next section covers service design and planning assumptions related to the current ST3 plan and the variables and levers we are looking at as part of the enterprise initiative. Next slide, please. So the relevance of these service design assumptions is that they drive both infrastructure planning and capital requirements, particularly in our light rail projects, and they also influence lifecycle operating, maintenance, and state of good repair costs, as well as fleet needs and OMF and other support facility capacity. The Enterprise Initiative provides an opportunity to revisit these assumptions to ensure they meet ridership needs and travel patterns, given how they have evolved, as well as to ensure they both meet and encourage ridership demand from any revised capital expansion program. Importantly, we also want to ensure that any design and infrastructure decisions are intentional about forward compatibility and enable our ability to increase capacity or support future infrastructure investments. Next slide. So another important piece of context is how the system expands through the ST3 program. The graphic here shows what the light rail network will look like starting on March 28th, with the one line operating between Federal Way and Linwood, and the two line operating between Redmond and Linwood. The next section is an animated view of the current schedule for system expansion and light rail service design. So if we advance, our current expansion assumptions begin in 2032, with the West Seattle Link project becoming the first part of the 3 line, where passengers will transfer at Soto Station to connect to the 1 line. In the next animation in 2035, the 1 line is extended to Tacoma Dome, with Linwood still as the northern terminus. In the next animation in 2037, the first phase of the Everett Link project opens, which means the 1 line will extend to the Southwest Everett Industrial Complex for a total length of 61 miles, and the 2 line will extend to Mariner. In the next animation in 2039, the new downtown Seattle Transit Tunnel comes online with the Ballard Link extension, and this is when we segment the spine, with the 1 line now serving Tacoma to Ballard in the new tunnel, the 2 line continuing to operate between Redmond and Mariner in the existing tunnel, and the 3 line operating between West Seattle and Southwest Everett in the existing tunnel. In the next animation, in 2041, we complete the spine and reach Everett Station and extend the T line out to Tacoma Community College. In the final animation, the final light rail investment is the 4 line, which will connect South Kirkland and Issaquah via downtown Bellevue and is scheduled to come online in 2044. Next slide, please. So this slide shows current operating assumptions for the Link Light Rail system that were established in ST3 and haven't been adjusted since. The line termini are listed, and each line is assumed to operate at 6-minute peak headways and 10-minute off-peak headways, resulting in a 3-minute peak headway between Mariner and the International District. Next slide, please. So the purpose of presenting this is simply to establish the baseline for the current plan and its assumptions. As we consider different capital program alternatives through the scenario development process, we will also assess different service assumptions based on where and when new light rail extensions come online. We also understand that these changes also cascade out to the broader transit system and have started and will continue to proactively engage our partners at Metro, Pierce Transit, Community Transit, and Everett Transit as we advance this work to revisit ST3 service assumptions. These assumptions are critical drivers for operations and maintenance costs, light rail vehicle and OMF needs, and infrastructure design requirements. Whether and how they change can have important cost considerations. Next slide, please. So moving next to Sounder, I'm starting with the slide that summarizes what is included in our capital program and its value in support of improvements to Sounder service facilities and station areas. And importantly, these are pre-baseline Sounder projects. So there is a total of $3.6 billion in Sounder projects, most of which are in the S-Line corridor, but also include station access improvements in Edmonds and Mukilteo, as well as a maintenance base. Next slide, please. So this slide includes a graphic we've previously shared with this committee of Sounder ridership since 2019. I would draw your attention to two features of this graph. First is the precipitous drop in ridership following the COVID pandemic. And second is the fact that ridership is generally stabilized at about 50% of pre-pandemic ridership over the past 2 years. Now, it's very likely ridership will continue to increase as additional large employers require more in-office work. And we also see robust ridership for event trains to concerts and sporting events, and passenger surveys have indicated strong preferences for additional trips throughout the day and on weekends. Next slide, please. So this slide shows average ridership by day of the week on the S-Line, so Sounder South in 2025. I would draw your attention to a couple of trends with this graph, and that is much higher ridership during the middle of the week, which also grew consistently through the year before an expected dip in December. The second trend is how much lower Friday ridership is relative to the rest of the week, and generally indicative of post-COVID white-collar work patterns. Next slide, please. So assessing Sounder investments relative to changes in ridership and use of the service are important elements of the enterprise initiative. The slide also flags other considerations, including how the maintenance function for Sounder vehicles is performed, the operating model for the S-Line, and whether and when we might move from a more commuter-based service design to something more akin to regional rail, an assessment of cost benefit relative to the N-Line or Sounder North and current ridership, and potential grant and coordination opportunities with WashDOT and Amtrak cascades throughout the existing and future Sounder alignment. Next slide, please. So my final slide is also my only slide touching on ST Express. Implications for ST Express will be part of this body of enterprise initiative work and is driven in part based on how the capital program changes. These changes may affect cost considerations for potential future asset needs like new bus fleet and base considerations. And as we think about longer term operating models, which has been identified in the Transit Operations Opportunity Register, this will also involve our operating model for both ST Express, which is delivered by our partners at Metro, Community Transit, and Pierce Transit, and Stride, which will be delivered by a contracted service provider. Ultimately, we want to ensure we demonstrate how our modes complement each other and cohere into a full regional system, and how the work to update ST3 will also inform the development of agency service standards, guidelines, and a network plan, and which we'll have more information on in the months to come. The next slide is actually the last slide. That concludes our presentation, and we would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks for continuing to do such an able job of teeing up these many enterprise conversations, how they're all interrelated about our system, and preparing us for the March retreat and future decisions. Are there other board member questions or comments about the second section that we've just heard about? Alex, I'll just note on Sounder South, just because I'm so familiar with that service. I really hope that we use this process to formalize a board position on Sounder South and really formalize this notion that I think we're rightly headed in, which is to change the plan to get away from the previous thinking of longer trains and longer platforms to more frequent service, and that we really formalize that decision by the board and move forward on moving the financial plan around in order to accommodate that, and hopefully also find some cost savings by that decision, and implementing that decision is also my hope, while also delivering better service for riders. I don't see any other hands. A lot to talk about in March and beyond. Thank you, both of you. Our next report to the committee is about our economic development program update, and I'd like to welcome our Chief Economic Development and Civil Rights Officer, Daphne Cross, to begin this presentation.
Good morning, and thank you, Vice Chair Mello and members of the Executive Committee. I'm happy to join you today. My name is Daphne Cross. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Chief Economic Development and Civil Rights Officer. I get to lead the amazing team of the Office of Civil Rights, Equity, and Inclusion here at the agency, and most days I'm excited to say that I've served this agency for 24 and a half years. I'm joined today by Edson Zavala. He is our Deputy Executive Director of Economic Development in the Office of Civil Rights, Equity, and Inclusion. And today, as part of our FTA, our Federal Transit Administration requirements for compliance programs, we're providing briefings to the board leadership as part of our dissemination plan, and also to provide a brief overview and program update on Sound Transit's Economic Development Program. There's no action needed from the committee at this time. Next slide. I'm sorry, I'm ahead of the slides, but there we are. All right. Next slide, please. The Office of Civil Rights, Equity, and Inclusion, also known as CRE, consists of 4 divisions. It's our administrative management that helps with our day-to-day administrative functions and processes. Our Civil Rights Compliance Program, which consists of the agency's Title VI program, our Equal Employment Opportunity Program, and coming later this year, our office will be overseeing ADA equity and compliance. The Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Division leads the agency's racial equity tools, our Change Agents Program, our anti-racism strategies, our 10 robust employee resource groups, and soon we'll be leading efforts to identify and implement some community healing and restoration in Rainier Valley in partnership with some of our community organizations. The 4th division is Economic Development Programming, Compliance, and Outreach, and I'll turn it over to Edson to share more with you about that program that we're discussing today.
Got it. Thank you. So again, I'm Edson Zavala, Deputy Executive Director of Economic Development, he, him, his. And next slide, please. Just to dig a little bit deeper into, as we discussed, the goal of economic development is to champion Sound Transit's commitment to business access and opportunity. And we accomplish that through several means, implementing our DBE, or Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, which is a requisite of a receipt of federal funds. Also the administration of our small business program, and then business outreach and engagement, as well as capacity building initiatives. And all of these things work in tandem and work together to achieve our mission of making sure that our small and diverse businesses have access to the economic benefit as we expand our transit system. Next slide. So 2025 has been a year of change for the agency, and In economic development, we've been very proactive in making sure that we are staying up to date on all the changes and that we're positioning the agency and our work in a way where we can be responsive to the things that are emerging. A lot of our work throughout the year included being cognizant of the executive order changes that occurred, as well as important guidance from the Department of Transportation, DOT, that came out later in the year that informed some changes to our DBE program. So we were working together with procurement and legal to make sure that we were positioning the agency and our work in the best way to ensure we can continue our work. Other things that have been very important in 2025 is continuing our agency partnerships and centering community work. As the community, business community has also been keeping up with these changes, it's been important for the agency to be in partnership with our agency partners to ensure that we're working together as a region to ensure we find solutions, to ensure that our businesses can still be successful working in the public sector. Important work for the year has been continuing our relationship with WashDOT for the Capacity Building Mentor Prototype Program, which has been another resource and tool to still be able to provide the business community with capacity building and resources to work with government agencies, despite of what may be happening with changes to the DBE program. Other work throughout the year that was very important and we were happy to engage in was working nationwide with our other partners for the Equity and Infrastructure Pledge. So Sound Transit became a signatory to the Equity and Infrastructure Pledge, I believe, a couple of years ago. And through that work, we've been able to connect with other agencies throughout the nation to share best practices and look at what has worked to ensure that we can continue supporting our small businesses. And Sound Transit has been very fortunate and enthusiastic to share what has worked for us and share lessons learned to ensure that we are doing best practices for inclusion. Another important part of centering community has been revitalizing our Diversity Oversight Committee. So that's a board-appointed committee to guide the agency's work in business inclusion and labor inclusion, among other things. So this year was an important year as we were able to revitalize and recruit more for that committee. Another important piece in 2025 was, again, preparedness, right? Not only for the agency, but to ensure that our business community has information they need to be able to work with us. And this has included expanded outreach, looking at our other analysis throughout the year, such as our disparity study, to make sure that we're updating that, to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the moment, but also working on other things that we can still do, such as bolstering prompt payment policies and working on other advanced outreach mechanisms to support our businesses. Next slide. So this is a snapshot of our DB goal performance. And again, the Office of Civil Rights posts this on our website externally. So as we get this data, we posted. So this includes our goal for the agency, which we set on a triennial basis, which the latest one is 18.17. And then as we go throughout the year, we also post our DB attainment. I would note that 2025, through the DOT changes, included different guidance on how that reporting should occur. So we only have the first half for 2025, but we were able to say that we were happy to see we commitment to data transparency to ensure that the business community is responsive to what the information that the community would like to see. I would also note that it's not shown here, but in our website, we also just aggregate this data by ethnicity, and we monitor trends throughout the year to ensure that we're seeing if there's any disproportionate impacts to any specific business community, and that informs how we focus our resourcing and All right, so I think we might have a little lag there, but I would like to chat about priorities for 2026. So again, as we move forward, we do want to continue that connection with community and make sure that we're being responsive to the challenges and barriers being faced out there. One of the things that we're happy to continue strengthening in 2026 is our onboarding sessions and office hours. So something that we've seen is the community has shared with us a need for us to provide resources and information to new contract holders to help them understand how to navigate their contracts. So in 2025, we launched a monthly onboarding onboarding sessions in person, in community at Tiber 100 offices, where we meet with procurement. We are joined by procurement and labor to walk over important contract elements and expectations with our new businesses so they know how to be successful with us. Beyond that, we are also having office hours at Tiber 100, where people don't have to come to Sound Transit, or they don't have to, hop on a Teams call or a phone call. We're going out there closer to the business community, and people can drop in and bring their laptops and talk to an economic development specialist over anything that they may be encountering, whether it be reporting, access to how to bid, or just any kind of questions around working with Sound Transit. We've also had open houses that we launched last year that we look forward to expanding in 2026, where we provide updates on our programming and access to upcoming solicitation information or upcoming contracting information. So we're very excited to continue that work into 2026, and we have an eye on expanding that regionally and move into Pierce and Snohomish County as well, which is what the community has been sharing as an important piece. We've also been focusing on intentional programming. We're launching in 2026, after a lot of planning, and in 2025, technical assistance services. So we're very excited to launch that in this quarter. We're also looking at launching a program for assisting with access to capital, which would be our Sound Transit Economic Empowerment Loans Program, or STEAL program. And we're also going to be following up and sharing the outcomes of our disparity study in this quarter as well. And again, just many things, but just a couple of things to highlight, and then also increased focus on mentor protege programming, which has been very well received. Next slide. I think that might take us to the end, I believe. Oh, what's next? What's next? So again, like I mentioned, technical assistance services are set to launch this quarter. We will also, given the changes in the DBE program, we're going to be partnering with the state of Washington to ensure that our small and DBE firms have access and resources to understand how to become recertified based on new guidance by DOT. Again, launching of our STEAL program, and expanded small business programming as we do new analysis in our disparity study to inform how we can best be intentional with a small business program to still build inclusion of our firms.
All right, and our final slide. So CRE will be back to the Executive Committee on March 5th to share Sound Transit's disparity study results. They will be presented by our consultants, BBC. We'll come again to the full board on April 23rd to reintroduce the Diversity Oversight Committee, the new members, and our 2026-2027 work plan. And this concludes our presentation for today. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, thank you to both of you for your good work here and highlighting what our focus is for next steps, and the clarity of the accountability we have set for ourselves. Do any board members have any questions or comments at this time, knowing that some of the work is coming back next month? Don't see any. Look forward to the disparity study presentation next month. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our third and final report to the committee discussion item here is our draft calendar year committee work plan. So the work plan draft is in our board packets. The document contains a list of areas of focus and responsibility of the committee, topics of special interest, and a list of anticipated items and presentations coming to the committee throughout 2026. And you see that in the second page of the memo, try to forecast by quarter what's coming to the committee. This is certainly a living document, and I invite other committee members to add their thoughts and requests for additional topics of special interest that they would like to see come before the committee this year so our staff can plan accordingly. I'll just pause. Does anyone have any initial questions or comments at this time about the draft version of this work plan? Anything popping out to you that you want to make sure we get on the work plan for the calendar year? Not seeing any. There's certainly lots of opportunity. This will come back to the committee for adoption next month, and encourage you to bring forward to Chair Summers or CEO Constantine any thoughts you have to add to the committee's work plan So feel free to review that and make suggestions for any topics of interest to you. That concludes this section of our agenda. There's no executive session. There's no other business I'm aware of. Number 10, next meeting. Our next executive committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, March 5th at 10:30 a.m. The meeting will take place in the Ruth Fisher boardroom and virtually via Zoom. The link to join the meeting virtually will be provided on the Sound Transit website as well as on the meeting agenda. Seeing no further business, we are adjourned. Have a good day, everybody.